Hello, my lovely people. It is me, Bobbi B, coming at you from the Tilt and Shift Photography Business Podcast. Life is happening, friends. 2026 is happening. 2025 really happened, and I'm still digesting. I like to do year roundups. The one thing I love about the turning of the calendar, it's just another day, but it is a timestamp that we kind of all agree on, and we get to see like the best this of the year and the best that of the year, the best stories, the best photos. I don't believe any bests. Let's be clear about that. I don't believe there are any bests, but there's really cool things that come up that you kind of forget because the year is so long. And 2025 was definitely long. Good glory, it was long. It was devastating. And it was glorious for me. I don't know how it is for you, but I would love to hear from you. On that note, with this new month, new year, if you follow Chinese astrology, we're moving into the year of the fire horse. I am a horse, and I am stoked about this because 2025 was the wood snake, which is like the feminine aspect, the natural elements of the snake, which, I mean, as in Western culture, snakes, we're usually terrified of them. But in Chinese astrology, now I'm a newbie at this, like, please correct me if I'm wrong. But the wood snake was a shedding, absolute, like, shedding transformation. And that definitely happened for me. So I'm looking forward to recapping that for you. I'm going to share some more intense details or more intimate details because you're here and we shouldn't be scared to share our vulnerabilities. So that being said, with this new year, I know a lot of you are, as am I, working on reconsidering how you present yourself in your work. Maybe you're a few months older, a few years older, and you're thinking, you know what, I really got to start being honest. I'm ready to stop chasing what other people are doing. I am ready to really find out what makes me tick. You might have some ideas, but making that translate into a website and business and marketing to find aligned clients who really appreciate that about you is a process. And doing it by yourself is really hard and it's kind of ineffective. I come to that with full honesty. I tried to do it by myself forever, but since I've been really narrowing in on mentoring one-on-one rather than doing group programs, I'm really finding that having that mentorship, either being that mentor, and I'm also working with one for my own presence brand, it is infinitely helpful and incredibly much more quick than you doing it by yourself. So if you're feeling a little stuck, a little like, I don't quite know what I'm doing, or I want to know better what makes me me, having an editor, having a second voice, having someone who's really honest and talented at doing that, i.e. me, it will catapult your brand and how you market yourself far beyond you kind of tinkering through this by yourself. You're investing in your business, you're investing in your future and how you show up in the world, which is what people need to see when they're choosing a photographer. I truly believe that if we are not doing the work to understand what makes us us and how that comes out in an image, how to make that consistently come out in an image and have it be a clear, obvious story to anybody who comes to our website or Instagram or wherever you're showing up. If you're not doing that work, you are missing out on a fulfilling career and a lot of money. To be honest, a lot of money. So if that's what motivates you, we can talk about that. I love talking about pricing, but specifically when I mentor folks, it's very much about understanding you, what you've been through, your experiences, your talents, your instincts, and sifting through where your skills are maybe holding you back or not supporting what the artist in you is trying to create when you're working with your clients. And then how that translates into the way you market yourself, and the way you talk to people about pricing. We do it all, my friends. I am a one-stop shop. So if you're curious about that, if you're curious about maybe what that would feel like to have me kind of sit on your shoulder and guide you through some of these more challenging ways of looking at your art and your business, sign up for a free portfolio review. We can do your website, or we can stick into your portfolio, either or. I think people kind of pounce a little better when they hear portfolio. So I have the link to my calendar is in the show notes, and you can grab a time whenever you want, and we will do that together. I will go through your portfolio. I will tell you what I see, and more importantly, I will tell you what I don't see. Because what we don't see in someone's portfolio is actually why people don't hire you. If it's not there, they're not going to hire you, right? If they see your work that looks like everybody else's work, they're not hiring you, they're hiring this expectation of the work you produce. So, which is likely based on your own expectation of what other people want, and it becomes this weird negative feedback loop of expectations that don't actually exist until you set them for yourself. So, cheerleader, I'm a cheerleader, I'm a teacher, I'm a investigator, and I'm offering this to 2 people starting in February. So grab your free portfolio review. We'll spend some time together. You can figure out if I'm the right person for you to help you move into this next chapter, this next year of your life. And let's get started. So now onto the show. Sorry, I was blabbering there for a while. But the person I have coming onto the show today, her name is Rachel Larsen Weaver. She is a family photographer, a long-form family photographer from Washington, D.C. And I'm really excited to chat with her because she uses primarily film, and she has this giant brood of children. And I just absolutely adore seeing how photographers who have big families, they photograph in a different way. Obviously, their experience is different than families who only have 1 or 2 kids, right? So I'm excited to chat with her about that. And if you are at all interested in film, if you are at all interested in longer form sessions, Rachel is also an educator. So she's going to come right up. She's going to walk through some of her tilts and shifts with us. She's a super interesting lady, and I'm stoked that she is here. Welcome to the show, Rachel Larsen Weaver.
Bobbi, where are you coming from?
You have 5 children.
Yeah. Hey, Arlo, could you stop on sax? Because I'm going to record something. And will you bring me up a chair from downstairs? Perfect.
I'm going to include this on the podcast because I think this is a very good introduction to life as a mother of 5 and how you see families. Because I mentioned that, like, looking at the work of family photographers or photographers who photograph families who have large families, I honestly think that there's a noticeable difference.
I think it's a training ground, right? That you're just like, any amount of chaos is allowed.
Yeah. And I think that makes people feel really free, right?
Yeah. You have children, right?
I do not have children.
Oh, well, see, I feel like, yeah, what does that mean? I would have definitely thought you did from your work, so maybe
Well, I think I semi-raised my sister.
Yeah.
So I certainly have a very close proximity, even though, like, I was a teenager, but for the first 6 years of her life, my parents worked away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's maybe an experience there that someone who doesn't have children who didn't have that would have. Look at him.
Yeah.
Give your mom a chair.
Like, I'm hiding. Go play outside. Kick everybody out.
But I think, I'm not sure. This is an interesting conversation, Rachel, because it's something that, like, I'm no longer in an age where I would be able to have kids. I mean, I suppose I could. I mean, anything is possible. But it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you're looking very good for whatever that age. You look.
Yeah, I'm 47. It's pretty unlikely.
Holy shit, Bobbi, you look look really good.
Rachel, it's because I haven't had kids.
Yeah, that'll do it, huh?
Well, there's a
Um,
little less sleep that happens. I think sleep
yeah,
is the elixir of life, right? Like
yeah,
I don't get woken up by teenagers or toddlers.
yeah.
So, um,
Um,
but yeah, I think I'm not sure. Like I had a rough childhood, so I'm not sure I was ever in a place mentally where I felt like I could, you know.
yeah,
But now that I'm kind of out of that window,
yeah,
I recognize that it's an experience I'll never have, right?
yeah,
That and like not only as a woman, like just the experience of like having that happen to your body. So that is something that plays with my brain a little. More from just like I'm someone who really wants to have experience everything out of
yeah,
life. And to not have that giant experience, I don't know what this feeling is. I don't regret or miss anything because it's
yeah.
just something that never happened. But yeah,
Was it something, not to ask a question was it something you had desired much, or
it was something
was
that I
it kind
didn't
of like if it
avoid.
happens? Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't avoid it. And
yeah,
it just didn't happen. So, but here's a different something else that I kind of observed in my brain. I had a dog, Harlan, for 13 years, and he was my like
sorry, I'm
soulmate.
working on
That's
this
okay.
cough too.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually yell for someone to get me a glass of water, and then I want to hear about Harlan. I swear I'm gonna be normal here in a second. Arlo, bring me up a water too, please. You're the best. I owe you big time.
So um, as he was passing, I noticed a feeling, and I've photographed many births. I've photographed about 12 births, and so there's this waiting, right? Like you're waiting for something really big, but waiting for I don't know if there's a word for the feeling of waiting for someone to die, you know? And it
Yeah,
was like, yeah, it feels in many ways, it felt similar to birth. And I obviously I can't say that from a personal perspective, but from what I witnessed and from what I just kind of peripherally felt with families, this had so many similarities, right? But it was just very much on the obviously on the other end of the spectrum. But how similar they were was really quite beautiful. Does that
yeah.
does that
No,
ring true for you in any way? Does that?
no, absolutely. I mean, I remember when my grandmother was dying, I was pregnant with a baby.
Uh-huh.
And I had just read Wabi Sabi for artists, designers, philosophers, and poets.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with it,
No, but I will be.
but it was really interesting because, Wabi Sabi, the idea of like, it's all imperfect, impermanent, not fully knowable, right? And there was something like that intersection of, I don't know, where the veil feels thin and both of these things are
Yes.
right there. And like,
Yes.
we honor one and not quite the other. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, I
something to
agree.
it.
Thank you for saying that. That's the phrase I was looking for. The veil felt very thin,
Yeah.
and then there's also this struggle with like people not validating your love for your animal companions. But that's another topic. But the I felt like I was in this world of just this nebulous like dance with energy and love, you know?
Yeah. I mean, thank you, bud. What did that, you're the best. How long ago was that?
That was in August, so 6 months ago. Yeah.
Has, I don't know, how does the grief sit at this point?
Um, it is it's not heavy anymore. At first it was very heavy and it was very
Yeah.
sad. But it was also very, because he died relatively slowly. It wasn't tragic, which I mean that happens in birth too. That can be very
Yeah.
tragic, traumatic births, right? And I felt very kind of blessed to be able to. I wasn't busy, so I got to really be with
Yeah.
him. The grief is now kind of a it's just a presence. It's just kind of here,
Yeah.
and life goes on, you know. I'm
Yeah.
kind of used to it being here.
I once saw like an illustration and it was talking about like it's not that the grief gets smaller, but that like because it was like showing kind of like a box and the grief stays the same, but it's like stills at a certain point, so it's not like banging against the walls all the time. It's like
Yeah,
still there.
yeah,
It just doesn't so like it's not hitting up against things as often,
yeah,
and that's like what time does.
yeah. I would say so. It kind of
Yeah.
surrounds the edges a little bit,
Yeah.
smooths them out, and you get more familiar with it as well. You know,
Yeah.
which I think there's parallels with all of this with mothering and childhood and stuff too. Like,
Yeah, I
do
mean
you?
that's like I mean and why we're I feel like also like if death weren't a factor, would we care as much about making these images? And like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a part of the whole story, but I don't feel like we're in a culture that talks about it very much.
No, no.
Yeah.
I was just one of the things that I would really love to do. So I'm working to become a death doula.
It's funny, as you were talking, I was like, that feels like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what any of these things mean, but that experience, I'm like, oh, this, like it this makes so much sense to me. Like just
Yeah.
being this presence, and maybe that makes more sense as to why I don't have children or whatever that might be. But Rachel, I didn't mean for this to go into a story about
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in.
yeah.
Uh, Okay, I've got a quick question, and then we can
Yeah.
change the
No, no,
subject.
no, we can keep talking. I
How
just didn't want to
are
make it.
death doulas and hospice sort of different as a, because I think of them similarly. Like,
Yeah. I think they are. I think very much they are. And this is something
yeah,
that again we don't talk about. Like there's these two expectations, you live and you die. But life is so celebrated and
yeah,
death isn't. Like it's literally
mhm,
buried. But I've been learning about other cultures and how they approach death and how it is just so much more embraced,
yeah,
and like it's this you're returning to the earth, you're returning to from whence we came, and I love the cyclical meaning of it, like but the a death doula, in the same way that birth doula is, you're there for, you're guiding, you're shuttling, you're supporting,
yeah,
your only focus is on that person. Like it's a soul connection that you are like, and that person knows that they can trust you, and it's not going to be intervened by
yeah,
other forces.
yeah.
But did you have a doula in any of your births?
I didn't, in part because my mom, who had six kids, was there with me in all of them, and
Wow.
she had six. I'm one of six kids, and she had like been at almost all of her. She's one of five girls and had been at all of her sisters' births, so she had like some of that kind of
Yeah,
happening anyway.
that is
Um,
so cool.
yeah, so I didn't, but it is. I mean, just hearing. I don't know. We need more guides. Need more people who are like standing beside us in all sorts of times in our lives,
Yeah.
and we need it at birth and we need it at death, and there's all sorts of like transformative times that we can use that, and we just don't have a lot of space
Yeah.
for it. And I was also thinking about the fact that like we don't think about death or talk about death much in this culture, but I think it's like part of what makes us so obsessed with youth, because anything to like to put that off and not,
Yeah.
and I feel like if we could be maybe less afraid of it, we would also be less obsessed with our
Yeah.
own youth.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And we could honor each of these stages
Yeah.
rather than everything being well, it used to be like this. It used to be like this.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is happening. Like this is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know? You're lucky that this is happening. Like, yeah.
And that
I'm very much looking forward to my crone age.
same. I feel like I was made to be a crone. I'm like, come on. Like, and then I feel like when does it happen where you're just like so okay with the fact that you look like an old craggly woman that you're like
Yeah.
every it's like just safe and it's allowed and
Yes. I think
I'm
I think that our generation can start working on this. You know,
yeah.
we've got it.
Every
We've got to do this.
time I make like chicken stock and I use like actual chicken feet in it, I feel like one step closer.
I'm doing it.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, okay, good. Baba
Yes.
Yaga's here.
Yeah, I so badly want a farm with just like all the animals that nobody wants, just like all the give me all your cast-offs and they can just come
Yeah.
and hang and we can just be old and crotchety together. That's
Yeah.
my goal. That's my retirement plan.
Yeah, I'm into it for you. So are you in Canada?
I'm in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
British Columbia. I'm on the western side of it. And
Okay.
you're in DC, right?
I'm outside of DC, but
Yeah.
that's the closest city. I mean, it doesn't really feel very DC-ish here, but that's like where I do most of my work.
Yeah. How did you become the photographer that you here's a tiny question. How
Okay.
did you become the
I don't
photographer that you
I
are?
mean, we jumped into this conversation like kind of late under chaos and we like dove in real fast, Bobby.
That, that's what we do, Rachel. That's
Yeah.
there's no time for dilly-dally.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
that's going to be like my epitaph.
I love it. You are living that. Um, did you say how did I become the photographer
That you are,
that
yeah.
I am? Um, like most good things I feel like in my life, it's an interesting balance between I always like kind of make the joke that it was like accidentally, but also there's been so much intention behind it. So I should probably be more honest when I am actually speaking about it. So
Yeah.
my background was in writing. That was like I was an English undergrad and then I was an English teacher. And I first like bought a camera because I wanted to blog. And I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, you need to have a camera to be able to or you need pictures for that." But
Right.
I saw it as totally supplementary to writing.
Okay.
And then but I was like 3 kids into the game when that happened. And photos can be done in chaos in a way that writing is much harder to
Yeah.
do. And it can be it's like it's collaborative with my kids often. Do you know what I mean? It's something I
Yeah.
do with them and doesn't require me to like move away from them in the same way.
Right.
And so it became interesting to me because both of them were largely practices in noticing and in paying attention because most and so they were fulfilling the same sort of meditative quality often.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, it also felt like a lot like a gratitude practice, just to
Hmm.
be aware of what was going on and pay attention because that's where I don't know, gratitude needs awareness before you can even be grateful for the thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so then people, as often happens, I feel like when you have a camera and you're sharing pictures, people start asking you to take their pictures. And so I'm a say yeser by nature. Like I just want to like, yeah, let's see. Like, I want to a little like you were saying, you want to experience all the things and it feels like saying yes opens you up to more possibilities and I know that I know there's importance in a no, but like I just wanted to see. And when I did it, it was sort of shocking to me, I guess, the first few times that I'm like, oh, this isn't anything like when I photograph my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was waiting for the light and the moment to happen, and then I could capture the picture. And it's like, how do I? It became a creative challenge to think, how can I create the circumstances and the settings so
Yeah.
that I can make the same sort of pictures, but basically on demand. Like,
Right.
what do I have to do to set up the circumstance?
That is
How do
so
I have,
hard.
yeah, how do I have to show up? How do I have to have led them into this moment. So like that feels as much like, I don't know, part of my creative practice is setting a scene and making it so that people are going to feel comfortable with me, that they're going to feel that they can be known and seen. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that, that part has been very intentional. And like
Yeah.
also, I've spent the last 10 years studying photographers and their work and what they're I'm really like, I like the art of photography. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It started by the say yes and kind of the go on the whim, but then once I realized there was something to it,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to be good at it.
Yeah. And what is that? Is that something that tickles at you often, or was that new? That the wanting to be good at it? Is that part of your personality?
Um, I think like I am not competitive in any way where there's like an actual scorecard or a winner or a loser. If
Hmm.
there's when it becomes like definite or like objective, I'm interested in subjective.
Yes.
um I, I like a subjective sort of competition where
Yes.
I can always declare myself winner. Where I'm like, okay, I did it. I got exactly what I. So it is like in a competition with self and feeling like, am I? So I do think that the things that I decide that I want to be good at, and like the way that I want to be good at them. But it's interesting because it is also mixed with like kind of, I'm not a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I see it a lot lately because I've like worked a lot in the last year, like becoming a better cook.
Okay. Yeah.
That it's been like, I mean, I always felt like I liked family meals and sort of, but in this past year, it's like kind of taken a different level. But like other people talk about their sourdough and they're like, oh, just take it's so hard and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, my second loaf of sourdough, I was like, this is great. Like,
What are you
perfect,
complaining
nailed
about?
it. Like, so I don't have that thing that I think some people where they're like,
Maybe
I mean,
sourdough needs a little chaos.
I think it needs more chaos than people realize.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
all the bacteria, they got to dance around together.
Yeah.
They've got to have different temperatures. I don't, yeah, maybe you can't be perfect with it, and that's the problem.
Yeah. And like, and so that's one of my son's friends who is like pursuing cooking came over to eat with us a couple of weeks ago, and he's Mexican American, and I had made pozole, and he was like, so how do you feel about your pozole? Like, I think you did, but like, did it meet your expectations? And I was like, doesn't take much. Like, if I'm like, this is good. Where I think so many people, I'm
Yeah,
sure you have great cooks in your life and they serve you a meal and they're like, I should have, I could
right.
have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I kind of like it. Like, I'm a liker. So, when I like something, I want more of that thing. Do
Yeah.
you care at all about the Enneagram?
Oh my God, I love the Enneagram. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What are
I'm
you?
a, I'm a seven and I feel like it's not subtle.
Likewise, I'm an eight. I'm
Yeah.
definitely an eight, but I lean seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm a seven who leans eight, but sometimes I feel like the thing about sevens, because like we're the enthusiasts for those of you who are like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
And my personality is so like, so sometimes I think a seven-ish problem is to be like, oh, I don't know. I see the eight in me and the six and the
You're right.
five and the four,
Yeah.
like that I can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I definitely have done a lot of things in my life because people have just said, "Hey, you'd be good at that." And I'm like, "You're right. Why don't I do that?"
Yeah.
I do it for a couple of years. I'm like, "What am I doing? Like this doesn't feel like I want to do this anymore." Like
Yeah.
some people have commented that I'm always doing something else. I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it." But the thing with 8 is that it's not so much of a perfectionism, but it's like a stubbornness and like I'm a protector and I'm super loyal, and so there can be some sharpness to
Yeah.
how I go about doing these things, which I'm trying to soften. But maybe it'll come
Yeah.
back in my crone age.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I believe in softness. We need it. And I also feel like sometimes
Yeah.
I don't know how much our women are expected to be so soft.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, we start to give ourselves a hard time for any kind of
Yeah.
pushback. And
Yeah. No, no. My boundaries are clear.
yeah, I, and, and whereas that part, I'm like, I think I have boundaries. I just don't know where they are yet. I haven't found them. I assume they're out there. I'll let you
I love
know.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
And
Or
then,
sometimes I'm like, I just feel like I have really gerrymandered boundaries where like people wouldn't necessarily know that I'm like, oh, it cuts right around there, and I get that's on the other side.
but next year it'll be different,
Yeah.
right? That's isn't that gerrymandering? How you change the voting boundaries?
Yeah, and so like when you look at a map, it doesn't make sense because little things are cut out,
Right.
like
Okay.
it's not in clear sections, and you're like, so why did that boundary get drawn there?
Yeah. 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 Oh, I
Because of
see.
racism.
Well,
But so
thank you
I
for educating me because I always thought gerrymandering was the negotiating to change it, but it's actually like kind of the kind of randomness of why where the lines are where they are. Okay.
yeah, and so, it's usually done so that you're getting a population that's more
Right.
favorable to your
Right.
side. Like, you know,
How appropriate that you live near DC and we're using a
yeah.
gerrymandering
And
description.
that's, I don't, this is when I'm like, I don't feel very DC. I'm not that deep, but yes.
So tell
Um,
me a little bit about how, so looking at your work, you mentioned something, how do I create these scenarios intentionally? I'm like a pure documenter. I never direct anything.
yeah,
So there's a lot of time. It takes
yeah,
a lot of time. And so when people ask, well, how long is the session? I'm like, well, it's as long as it takes. Like I do have
yeah,
like rough time frames, but I'm pretty general with people because I know that
yeah,
certain people need certain amounts of time and space and blah blah.
yeah.
I'm really attuned to that. But for you, you said that you as you're learning, you're like, so how from your family, how do I create this in my clients? What was that
Yeah.
journey like for you?
I mean, one of the things that seemed the most important, well, also, like, often when we're photographing children, they have like a certain lack of inhibition, right? And they don't have the self-consciousness, and there's all of these things that make them, I mean, they can be easier subjects than when, but who's primarily actually hiring me is mothers.
Yeah.
It's women, you know, who are probably late 20s to mid 40s,
Hmm.
and they have a lot of baggage generally about how they feel just because we've grown up under in this culture where, you know what I mean, that like there's a so one of the things was realizing I needed to figure out how to get them to a place where they felt comfortable being seen, that they believed that I could see them with like love and compassion, that they and so one of my biggest practices is practicing seeing with a loving gaze. Like I want to be able to see beauty across so much difference and to see the beauty in it and to not have this very narrow idea of what beauty is. And so I had to work on that in myself and like what things felt harder to accept both. And I think one of the biggest places is we have such a hard time creating a definition of beauty that does include ourselves. Like no matter how we write it, it typically is again gerrymandered to exclude us from the
Totally.
definition. And so I had to figure out like how do I come into a loving relationship with myself to a greater degree so that A, I can come in and model it to the people in front of me,
Hmm.
and B, I know that I'm seeing with that so that I can see myself with the same way that I'm seeing them. Because I think it can feel a little disingenuous when you have these photographers who say, "Oh, I just think everyone's beautiful, but no, no, not me. I have a hard time." You
Right.
know what I mean? That they're like, "But I have a hard time with self." But then I think the things that they're feeling critical of themselves, if somebody's saying, well, I have those problems too, and if you can't see that you're beautiful, how do I know that you're going to trust that I am
Hmm.
in that? You know what I mean? And so that is a huge part of how I see the work, because I feel like when I can get, the faster I can get that like softening into the moment because they're feeling less afraid of how they're going to be perceived,
Hmm.
um, the faster I can get into showing the things that I think that they want and value. Like they want the love of their family and also their life, because it's not always mothers who are hiring me. I've had single women hire me. I've had couples without children hire me. You know, that there's people who they've created this life and they love it and they want images that speak to it, but they want to believe that the person who came can see what they did is special.
Yeah.
Um, and so I don't know, for it involves also having like a diverse portfolio, just like in terms of the people, but also like the places and the different ways that it can be seen
Yeah.
so that people feel like I have a place in there.
Yeah. How did you, so this is always the crux, is how someone learns to do that. And
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
it's not easy to answer, right? Which is why it
Yeah.
remains the most difficult part of the journey, is like being able to sort of define that. So what's your take on that question? Like, how did you figure that out?
How did I figure out like how that was important, or how did I figure out like how to live it, be it?
Oh, how to live it, be it, but also have your, like, to create that for your clients. Like you walk into a home or into a scene,
Yep.
wherever it is. What is that process? And like, where do you like when you've hit it? Because sometimes
Yeah.
you're like, ah, here it is. Like the veil drops, or the tension just kind of like dissipates.
Yeah.
Things kind of sound a little bit different. What what's that like for you? What's that process?
I mean, one of the big things I feel like, I mean, I hope I'm asking answering the question correctly. But like asking questions and being genuinely interested in how people respond. Because if
Hmm.
I am saying I'm coming here to see you, the hearing you is also a part of it. And it feels like sort of we're in this thing where I'm talking a lot in this moment. But like one of the things I feel like when I'm talking to photographers about going into their sessions, it's about asking a lot of questions and giving them a lot of space to answer, and not, one of the things I think we have a tendency to do is to want to be like, me too, and here's my story. And I think there's value in that. But I think if you are in a 2 hour photo session, this is as much as possible they've paid because they want the stage to some extent. They want to tell their stories. They want to, like, and I kind of see it as I have this platform where I'm talking about me. I have newsletters, I have my Instagram, I come on to things like this and people hear. So when I'm showing up to them, it's the time to like really be hearing, because they've listened to me. That's why they've invited me in at that
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
And so um to like, I don't know, just be naturally as curious as possible.
Yeah.
Um Years ago, I I, I don't know. I also do like body story sessions, which are they're more it's more boudoir adjacent, but it's not. It's very like not. I mean, it's about photographing people's bodies, sometimes in the nude, sometimes lightly, but it's about like just honoring your body, and it's not. You know, it's its own thing. Anyhow, I'm saying boudoir, but that's not quite right. But it's a really vulnerable thing for people, right? And I feel like so much of when I first started, and you'd be like, how do I pose people or what do I do? And there was so much talk about like, it was about how you pose them for these flattering angles, which definitely implies that there's a way that a body should look,
There's a right and a wrong.
Yeah, so like arch your back so that your butt looks this way, or so that this looks thinner, or this is prominent, right? And that felt so counterintuitive to what I was like actually trying to have the experience to. And so I started this like sort of meditation that I would do as I like prepared or as I was driving, and I would think about a body part and imagine all the different ways that that body part could present itself. So I'd be like, I don't know, how could thighs look? And I'd try to envision like muscular thighs or like really soft, curvy thighs or kind of thin thighs or and I would try to imagine like light downy hair on them or different skin tones or do you know what I mean? I would just try to imagine and then I would like go through and like how could a waist look? How could a butt look? How could arms look? Like how could all of these different and so when I came into a session, it felt like what am I going to see versus how do I make the thing that's in front of me look like it was supposed to? Like it really like opened me up to I could find anything.
Rachel, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
That is
Thanks.
honestly, I've never heard someone describe it like that. Because you're right. If we are thinking about a way that something is supposed to look without thinking of all the other possibilities, that's the way we're going to be inclined when we're
And
making
then
that art, right?
and I feel like that can be true of any sort of thing. If you're like, this is the kind of family dynamic, because, right, we're supposed to be thinking about who's our ideal client and what's the avatar, and they're supposed to show up. But, like, that feels like it kind of, I understand why that is important in marketing, so I'm not going to diss it. But when I show up to a session and they've already paid, the marketing is done, now I'm showing up and I just need them to feel like seen. So I need to think of like how are different ways people show love, not just the one way that I think that love should be shown. So like then I can pay attention and notice it and be curious versus like, oh, they weren't very physically affectionate. I wonder if that,
Totally.
you know
Yes.
what I mean? There's all sorts of ways. Like if that's, but we get really narrow on what it is, and then our expectations. Because how often when you talk to like new photographers, do they talk about like the kind of the panic of showing up and it wasn't like they expected or it wasn't like they wanted and they're like how do I deal with that and I'm like what if you crack open what you're willing to find.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. I love
Yeah.
this is this is the
Yeah.
mantra for 2026. Like the thinking of all of the possible like it, but even the act because we're so ingrained with these expectations, right? And
Yeah.
then as photographers, and you start studying photography, and maybe you like a certain type, and then you start seeing things the same way, and you keep looking, like it's like an algorithm, kind of getting narrower, narrower,
Yeah.
narrower, to like you're looking for a certain thing. But if you actually go through the practice of like what are all of the possibilities, that's really beautiful, Rachel.
I mean, and like I just feel like we don't see it as much anymore, right? Like, and
Hmm.
so I also try to like gather those images if that's through Pinterest or save folders or
Hmm.
like I try to find places where like I'm seeing them in media. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like as if your algorithm is only showing you a certain kind of person,
Hmm.
switch up your algorithm. If
Yeah.
you're only watching a certain kind of TV shows and they always have the same kind of like there was a time it was really hard to
Hmm.
find those kind of people being represented in media.
Hmm.
And then it became easier for a brief period of time and I do fear we're coming back into a period where it might become difficult again.
Yeah.
Um you know might have peaked. We might be
There's maybe a
reruns
rebound
will be
happening.
your friend. Uh like we let your mind be shown those things. If you're only seeing a certain thing, you start to compare yourself to that.
Yeah. Was that something that you did it come from an internal place of like feeling being in a bigger body and feeling like yeah, people aren't seeing me, and so you did the work on yourself and like, oh my God, now this is translating into my art. Like, was that the sort of the process, or
Yeah, I mean, I can remember real specifically one time being at a pool and I was like 20 years old and I was looking around and, in a bigger body because I've always and feeling self-conscious and then I had this moment where I was like looking at all of the bodies and then I was like, "Oh, they're all so messed up. Like none of them
yeah,
look perfect."
totally.
Whatever. Like and then but then I had this moment of like, "What the heck? Wait, if they're all messed up, then that means there is no real standard. And what is this
Mhm.
thing that we're all fighting, like working so hard at, if like no one gets to be it?" And so
Mhm.
it was like if what kind of system is this? And
Mhm.
so that felt sort of profound to me that I was like, oh, if if I've been fed this idea that none of these people are right, then what is the reverse of that, which is like that we're all right, and what does that feel like?
Rachel, I had a similar realization at the swimming pool.
Yeah,
I'd never seen my mom's body.
yeah,
And so I was still young enough that she was taking me in there. So maybe I was like, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
yeah,
And so the only bodies I had ever seen were bodies on TV in the 80s. So we
yeah,
can all imagine they were all thin and white.
yeah,
And certainly, and not much skin either, unless it was like some terrible like assault in a
yeah,
western or something like that. Like I have very
yeah.
specific like childhood memory.
Okay, okay. I'm with you.
But like going in, I remember going into the swimming pool and there was like 4 or 5 different women in there, and they're all like entirely different ages,
Yeah,
different sizes, different colors, and I was aghast. Like my mouth dropped, and I realized, like as a little kid, I'm like, oh, like there's all kinds of people,
yeah,
and I was also starting to have body issues at that age
yeah,
because my parents were I was a bigger kid and they didn't want that for me. And so to see all these different bodies, it
yeah,
does feel like either a call to arms of like, hey, this is
yeah,
what the reality is, and what the hell do we think that
yeah,
we're living in, or like and or permission that like, oh, like we all look weird when we're naked and just standing
yeah.
around,
Yeah,
Like,
and then you're just like, so so what who somebody is winning when they tell us that we're all wrong and we're all like in this constant feeling of like we have to improve ourselves, so we buy this thing, we do this thing and this pro like, and so there's like money to be gained, there's
some will
power, and
okay.
there's um and so I don't know, like that's like where part of my like radicalization comes from, is that like, that's the part of it that I feel like we need lots of different people fighting lots of different battles, and this one feels like in part it's mine,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I feel that, yeah, that responsibility as a photographer. I think
yeah,
we leave impressions like
yeah,
this is what people are looking at. Like I agree, we have a responsibility to be intentional about our perspective and what we put out there, for
yeah.
sure. Did you ooh, the question just fell out of my head. We were talking about responsibility. Oh shit, Rachel, it was a good one.
No, I know how that goes. Where it's like,
Oh,
oh, that was gonna be a good one.
darn it. Oh yes, the question was, so when your clients come to you, because your portfolio is just displays everything that you have just described to us.
Yeah,
I imagine, or this is why I'm asking the question, was it a work in progress to get your clients to understand that this is okay and acceptable, and then lean into, oh wait, no, this is beautiful and inspiring and incredible and like loving, like
yeah,
how did your clients figure that out? Like maybe you figured it out,
yeah.
but
Well, I mean, and one of the things that I realized, because I don't know, like, especially when I started 10 years ago, and I don't know if it's, but it, or maybe it was just my marketing, I don't know. But it felt like larger body people were never hiring me. It was always, and I wondered at first, like, is it just because these are the only people that think that I don't know, if you're worried about how your body is going to be perceived, do you really want to spend money to be shown in pictures or what? But so I was like, I need a more diverse portfolio. So I'll start with me because I have access to me, and at least that's going to be one larger bodied person on there. And then so, like in the going first, I think it had an impact, and it's funny because I don't think, because then I think you kind of move the needle slowly sometimes.
mm,
Who feels comfortable with what? It doesn't mean that people who feel very marginalized are going to feel comfortable, but somebody who maybe feels a little marginalized now feels comfortable to do. Do you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
get them in gradually, and then you're showing more, and then kind of the next tier of people are like, oh, I think I have a
Right.
space here. I think I have, and you it becomes more and more welcoming. But it takes work. And one thing is like my portfolio as like I've worked to make it as diverse as possible in lots of ways, but it doesn't handle every single type of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish it could, but that's just not human. Like, but I hope that it, by being open enough, that
Mm-hmm.
you feel like even if my way of feeling different doesn't feel directly represented here, she's shown that she can see beauty across difference, so she can handle this. Whereas I think there are a lot of photographers that the clients that they present are really similar in lots of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would anybody who didn't fit that pattern want you to photograph them?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah,
what I
you want
mean?
to
Like,
be understood by the
yeah,
person photographing you. Otherwise, you're really perpetuating the the quagmire that most of us are
yeah,
stuck in, right? Like, there's an opportunity to seek out people who, as you said, see beauty in the difference. And maybe she doesn't know my difference, but I just want to repeat what you said.
yeah,
But she understands difference. I think
yeah.
that's incredibly powerful, and we got to show that. Yeah, yeah. I think we're on
And
the
so I think that, like, I also hope, like, in my most ideal hopes for my work, right? Like, the pictures I make are obviously for the people who are in the pictures. But
same.
I'm also hoping that by sharing pictures, that it makes people feel seen beyond that. Because, like, that to me is kind of the difference between, like, art and just retail photography. Like, there are
Yeah.
the pictures that really matter to a family and to the people who love that family.
Right. Right.
And then there are pictures that have a power for any of us to see, and it says something about bodies, family, people, human connection that go beyond the people in it. Like we don't care that we know them or love them,
Yeah.
that we're like, oh, this is interesting because of what it's saying.
It's
I,
universal.
yeah. And obviously, I'm not like hitting that in every session, but at
Yeah.
its best, that's what I'm always like trying to make is that a picture that speaks beyond the
Yeah.
person in it
Yeah.
to say something, and so that when it gets shared somebody says, oh, I that's not me, but I feel seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel more understood. I
Mm-hmm.
feel less alone. I feel something
Yeah.
that goes beyond.
How do you know when you've done that? What does
Oh,
that
I
feel
don't know.
like?
I mean, it's funny because it does feel like a body knowing, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels, you see the picture and you're like, oh, that,
That's it.
you feel the thump, and it is it's funny. I was like cleaning green beans right before our call, like getting something, which is one of those tasks that's like so monotonous, like when you're snipping the ends and it takes so long. And I feel like I have so
And
many
the
good
snap.
thoughts when yeah,
Yeah.
when I'm doing that. Uh, but I was thinking about the fact that like, uh, about intuition and like what it means. And I do think that there's that intuitive piece when you see it and you're like, oh, I think that did it, or like for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm like too like intuition feels more like for somebody who's more like spiritually, that where I feel like very like salt of the earth, kind of grounded in some ways. But then that's also the part of me that feels like intuitive, right? Like that
Yeah.
part that feels like so connected to earth and a grounded piece. And anyhow,
Yeah, well, I
so I don't.
agree. Just
Yeah,
to validate that, I totally agree. I think our society has done a really good job of kind of vilifying intuition because if we paid more attention to our intuition, our world would not be the way it is right
yeah,
now. Like from a
yeah,
exploitation perspective,
yeah,
we that intuition is the only thing that we have against that. It doesn't feel right. And
yeah,
so it's been vilified. It's like, oh, like No, like you're just, oh, you're being airy fairy or you're being spirit or
Yeah.
you're being woo woo. Like, no, this is my body's actually saying this
Yeah.
is bullshit. And we need to listen to that. So go on.
Yeah. No, and so that's like it. And so I feel like when I'm connected to my intuition, I just see it in the picture. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, dang, that. And also, I shoot film. So there is a break between like when I have made the picture and
Mm,
then when I see the image. And
yeah.
so I think in some ways that space helps me. But I feel like sometimes you know when you click the image too, don't you? Like
Yeah.
there's just times that we know. Um, and I don't know, that feels, but like I don't know. It's like a kind of a hard high to chase, right? Because like you want to be able to do it on demand every single time, and you can't. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I
You gotta
can,
dance with it for sure.
yeah, I can produce like family photos that I think are meaningful like every time, but I can't produce like art on demand. I can't produce that picture that like goes beyond
Yeah.
on demand.
Do you do you wonder
I
if you
wish I could.
could?
I mean, I really wish that I could. I feel like it helped me a little. I had a mentor who was like, that's just not how art works. And somehow that has helped. I feel like it's increased my likelihood of it happening
Mm,
to take some of the pressure off, to be like, what I can do every time is make a meaningful connection for you all. And if I'm doing it with truth as an important barometer,
yeah.
then I'm more likely to find it.
Right.
But, you know,
You gotta set it
but,
up.
but like, you know, the artist who I like, the photographic artists who I like so respect, right? And I look at their work and we study their work for you. They We're not taking the number of shoots we are taking a year. Do you know what I mean? Like, so to think that like you were gonna, they could not create like studio work or like a show of work from just being like, oh, from every single one of these.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So like that's part of where the
Yeah.
permission comes in. Like,
Yeah. When there's a photographer that I follow, and they talk about like you're just buying lottery tickets. You know, you got this process, you've got your all of these different scenarios. You're setting yourself up with skills, and then you just you keep feeding
yeah,
the dollar or the penny machine or whatever it is. I'm not a gambler, so I don't know what the hell.
yeah. I mean, but it does feel like that, right? Because like we're also, especially like as a purely documentary photographer, like you like I don't know. There's some circumstances that are going to
Hmm.
lend themselves more to it if the light is really good in a place, right? Or
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a certain, I don't know. There's just elements to it, right?
Yeah, and it's pretty cool because the older I get, the more I learn to trust that body feeling.
Yeah,
Um, and it for me, it feels like a kind of like a lightness in my chest. Like I kind of suddenly feel more buoyant, and I'm like, oh, it's happening. Like the thing that I'm, like, it feels like a blessing from like the photo gods, like this,
yeah,
because you can kind of see it before from a documentary
yeah,
perspective, you can see it before all of the pieces align. And
yeah.
if you've set
And you're like, I'm
everything
waiting.
up, you're like, here it is. And then it hits. But that feeling is so is yeah, you're right. Like it doesn't happen every time. But when it happens, I now know I'm like, mm-hmm, yeah, this is it. This is a
Yeah,
portfolio piece or this is a but
yeah,
the beautiful thing you mentioned, and I think this is where a lot of photographers get really tripped up, is looking at their work right after they make it. Like this press for having sneak peeks and all that bullshit. Like, no, you've got to sit with that because even 6 months later, you're going to see stuff in your work that you never saw before. With all of my students, I do my students who've been working for longer. I do like a career retrospective, and they pull stuff out of their work. They're like, I never gave that photo a second glance, but as we
yeah.
experience stuff more and we become more confident in our values and how we're showing up, that time is so critical. And that is also what I love about film, right? You just
You
it's just
have. I'm afraid because I also think one of the things that happens, right? Like if you've just come from the experience, you have ideas about which images you thought were going to work. You have that moment of like, oh, I didn't get that. I don't know. Like
yeah.
there's just too, it's too real, and giving it some space to again, I feel like it allows for the curiosity of like what did show up versus what I was expecting, and giving yourself some space to be like, oh, here's what I do have,
Right.
and what hit.
Yeah. Do you shoot with digital at all?
Not really. Like, I mean, I still have a digital camera. I shoot
Mhm.
like headshots for the local community theater on it, but
Yeah, yeah.
not like nothing you. There's like one picture on my feed right now in the last like year that was digital, and it's
Oh,
because
beautiful.
every year for Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, I have a son who's named Arlo. Like Arlo Guthrie is a musician,
Yes.
and he has a Thanksgiving album, and I make him recreate it every year. And I never think to shoot it early enough to get it back on film. So
Yeah.
that's the only digital picture that usually shows up every year.
Yeah, I think I saw that one that you had said,
Oh yeah,
how old will he be when he stops
oh yeah, letting me do
letting you
it.
do this? I was like, oh.
Um,
And that was, he
but
just brought you the water.
yeah,
Love
he's a nice one. Um, uh, yeah. So, but yeah, so most almost everything. I mean, I still occasionally shoot weddings. Like I used to be a bigger part of my career, and so I do have digital cameras to bring to them. Uh,
Yeah.
a couple times, and so hugely I bring them because I used to not. I used to try to do it all on film,
Mhm.
and then you have like grandmas and stuff like you should take a picture of that, and I didn't want to like spend $2 every time to
Totally.
click it, so I was like, this is kind of my decoy camera. Like I don't,
Like,
I'm
that
like,
was expensive.
yeah, yeah, I'm like, I don't want that one, but if somebody does, it'll show up later.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I feel a bit like uh um highbrow it a little bit. I'm like, that's not worthy of film. But
Yeah,
really, it's like that is
I just can't afford it. Like, if I listen to all of you guys, you're gonna milk me.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Has it always been mostly or just film for you then?
No, I mean, because when I started, it was on digital, and I
Mhm.
realized at some point I probably switched over almost exclusively in like 2019.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe there was still some like trickle in of
Yeah.
digital. But so for the last 6 years, it's been
And
all.
so maybe we've already answered this, but like, was there for that transition, like for being solely film, what was the final factor for you where you're like, no, I'm just doing this.
Um, I mean, I realized, I think this happens with a lot of people when they're doing hybrid at
Hmm.
first, that then they are always like so precious and love their film photos so much. And so the digital can start to,
Yeah.
but I also think they're shooting differently, right? So they're
Yeah.
getting everything they really love on film. And so that it kind of, I don't want to say it feels like the redheaded stepchild, because like people love their stepchildren, and people love redheads. So it's, uh, but you know what I mean? I feel like they don't really get you know what I mean? So I wasn't loving it. Also, I mean, I just think we should like move with what we're good at and our skills. And like, I am not a good editor.
Mm.
Like, I don't like it. I'm not super skilled at Lightroom,
Hmm.
and so I kind of like offloading that piece. It means I'm at my computer a lot less. Like, I like marketing. I like photographing people. I like sharing work. I try to make my business do the things that I like the most often. And
Yeah.
so, and for me, editing was not it. And like I don't know, there's something so freeing about, I don't have 15 pictures of the same thing that I have to like go through the mental anguish of like, which one is it? You know,
Yeah.
I had to kind of have that moment when I shot it. And it's one of the things, though, I think film photographers can be so snobby. And I think that they forget, I think in some ways, as a digital photographer, you can kind of be more present because you're just shooting a lot and you don't have to have like so much judgment, because you're like, oh, I can capture these all and I can decide what's best later.
Right.
Whereas sometimes, because of film and the cost of it, I have to be in a judging mind a little in the moment to say, is it good enough
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me to click?
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
And I also think it can lead to like a lack of experimentation and taking risks at some points in film photographers' careers that they switch over and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, these shots are too. So, anyhow, I like it as a medium for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good medium for lots of people, but I don't think it's like a one size. I don't think it's the right way for everyone to make art.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I was just wondering your process because, as someone who, so tell me a little bit about this. You said that you like the chaos and you're not,
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong and you're not sure where the boundaries are. Are
Yeah.
you someone who's very particular? Because there's filmies who, I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm gonna use it.
Yeah.
Filmies who are very, very like, everything is light metered and color correct, like, and then there's people who are like
No, I'm in the second.
whatever. This one's magenta, this one's green, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Where are you in that
I'm
spectrum?
more B.
Yeah, yeah, me
I
too.
mean, yeah, I'm just, and one of the things is I hope that my work is inconsistent enough that you're like, well, I don't really know.
That's consistent. The inconsistency is consistent. I agree.
Yeah,
When
you
I
know,
first started, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
When I first started using film, I was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
it's so different. And now that's what I really like about it. Like, because it kind of feels like a collaboration
Hmm.
with the light and like what and like because film catches like the color hues so much more in the because in digital you can correct that, right? But if you want to, but it really does teach you like you can just roll with this. I mean, you can be
Yeah.
super anal,
Yeah.
or you can just roll with it and see what happens, which I think is really
And
fun.
and like I have a lab that I really like and I pay for pro scanning from them. So I am like kind of paying for an editor and like they're
Right,
creating more consistency than my
right.
scans really
They're like,
deserve.
what is Rachel doing here?
I know. I mean, sometimes I'm embarrassed that I'm like, are they like, how has
I
this
agree.
lady gotten hired by so many people when we see what she is sending in? Like,
I love that
that's what
you
I'm like.
said that.
I just wonder if they're like, she is a good marketer and should learn to light meter.
Yeah, I agree. Like it
Yeah.
is like sending in your underwear to get dry
It's so
cleaned.
humbling. You're like, please just don't be talking about me behind my back.
Absolutely. Yep, I
Every
hear
time they
that.
say like, uh, and I will shout out to Indie Film Lab. I love them, and I have like a really wonderful work. And when they finally made me feel like I was in the fold, I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to be so scared.
Oh,
Like, because I just it's really intimidating
it is intimidating. Yeah.
because they see all the things that nobody else sees, and they
Hmm.
see it. But anyhow, I don't need a lot of control, and so I like putting some of it and being like, it's not, this is a collaboration. It's a collaboration between me and the moment and the person I'm photographing and the film and the lab. And like, there's all of these things. And I like to kind of conduct it a little bit, but I can't control it. And I'm not
Hmm.
that interested
And it sounds
in
like
that.
that's your method in your sessions as well, right? Like in
Yeah.
terms of how you work with your client is you you create an environment and then you let people be themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I am not a documentary photographer. And sometimes I'm surprised at the number of people who think I am. I'm like, don't you know what documentary photography really?
Don't get me started on how photographers and clients describe the type of work that they see. Because I think what confuses people though is that it's very much about process
Yeah.
more so than the image itself. Because there's so much back and forth between documentary and photojournalism and editorial and blah blah blah. But like if we have to look at what experience do you need as an artist and does your client want to have in their session, and I think that's a better
Yeah.
definition of the work than the actual image itself.
Yeah, I mean, but like people don't, yeah, people throw around these words and they don't really
They don't know what they're
know what
talking
they
about.
mean. Uh, Anyhow, and I'm like, I'm definitely not documentary. And one reason, because I shoot film, it's like kind of hard to be a film photographer documentary. Like,
Yeah.
film is so light hungry. Like, if you are trying to do anything in a central room in your house, I'm gonna have to tell you to move. Like, um, and I just, like it, also I think maybe the nature of it because I like put a camera down more often than maybe a documentary on digital camera would be.
Yeah.
Like, whereas I'm a lot more likely to be like, oh, do that again, or like, let's. Anyhow, it's just I'm watching and observing and recreating, and I mean, there's a lot of, and sometimes I'm making suggestions and I'm trying to ask, is this something you would ever do? Is the
Yeah.
barometer for me. It's not like, did they do it when I was there? But if it's like, if you would never sit on the counter in your kitchen, like, let's not have a picture where you're sitting on the counter in your kitchen. But if you would, then we can move forward with this idea.
Yeah.
Like, that feels
More
I want it
honest,
to
more
feel
real.
like it could be in the realm of something you would do.
Right.
But I often say, like, I don't think a not I read a lot of fiction and I'm not like, well, this wasn't true, so it doesn't have truth.
Yeah.
So like, and I feel that way about like I can still make something with truth even if it's not like as true as a documentary
Yeah.
photo, essentially.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. It has some freedom in there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And it means, I have sessions that do lean really heavily documentary, and I have some that lean very heavily like portrait lifestyle,
Hmm.
uh, depending on like who's in front of the lens and what seems like it's going to make them the most comfortable in that moment. Because, like you said, it's about the experience. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And so for some of them, being told what to do would make them feel really uncomfortable because they would like leave their body or leave, or you know what I mean? And for other people, that gives them comfort to be told. Like they feel so awkward and guiding them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Sometimes I really admire my clients who are just like, yeah, this lady's here. And I'm like, well, you're right.
yeah.
It's here. And they just do cool stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it all comes from what drives us as an artist and where the comfort is for your clients. So that's really
Yeah.
beautiful, Rachel. You you had said something else that I wrote down. You had said
Ooh.
practicing seeing with a loving gaze. Did you come up with that?
I the loving gaze idea comes from John O'Donohue. He is he wrote a book that I really love, Beauty the Invisible Embrace. He was a Irish priest and then he left the priesthood and anyhow, he was a philosopher. I always tell people, did you ever watch Fleabag?
No,
TV
but
show.
it comes up for me.
Yeah, the second season, there's like a hot Irish priest. I always like to imagine that that is John O'Donohue writing Beauty. So he talks about the loving gaze, and
Yeah.
that was really where it like came from for me.
I love it. I think it's a beautiful way to kind of bring our conversation, which I've loved, Rachel. This has been
Yeah,
fantastic. Thank you so
I'm so
much.
glad we just went with
Yeah.
it. Thank you for
Yes.
embracing my serious chaos for the first 10 minutes.
I loved it. And can you so you had mentioned that you also do, and so that everybody knows that you also do you call it teaching? Do you call it mentoring? Like what's your
Oh, I
you're an
don't like.
educator
Do
as
you
well.
ever? Yeah. Do you ever feel weird where you're like, I don't know
I
what?
don't know what to call you
I'm,
guys.
yeah.
You're full grown adults.
Yeah.
You're not,
Here, it's.
yeah, I'm not a school,
Do I
you're not
need
a
a
school.
name? Here's what I do. So I do. I mean, but I actually, I guess it depends. There's because I feel like I teach and then I do mentor, and they feel like two different things. Teaching feels like when I have a larger group and I do some online classes
Yeah,
where it's 20 to 30, 40 people, and that feels like teaching because it's
right.
where it's more like me to people, right?
Yeah.
Where the mentoring feels like a more one-on-one thing. And I do a program called the 4x4, and that is 4 months with a 4-day in-person part with 5 photographers. And like, so that's more mentoring because we're having one-on-one calls and we have Voxer support, and then the workshop is kind of built around what they need. So yeah, that feels very like
That
mentoring.
sounds
But
wonderful.
I was like a little kid who, whenever I learned something, I like wanted to play school and always make my little sisters do it. And I
Mhm.
still feel that way. Like when I discover something about photography, I'm like, guys, come on, let me tell you.
Let's do this.
Like, yeah, I mean, you should try this. It feels really exciting. So that's what has led my teaching.
Well, I'm going to include links to that in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they are so inclined. Thank you for being here, and I hope that our paths cross in real life at some time.
Yeah, me too. This was wonderful. And sorry that I feel like you are going to have your editing really cut
Oh,
out
it's
for you.
all staying in there, Rachel.
No, this is a really special episode, guys.
Well, part of it I want to keep it in here because of how sweet your son is. He brought you
Oh,
a chair, he brought you water and a lozenge, like
yeah.
good guy.
I know, without like any grumbling. It's just like, okay, get
Oh,
off the saxophone. Like, I need it one.
beautiful. Well,
Uh,
have a wonderful day, Rachel.
you too, Bobby. This was great. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Well, how wonderful is she? I am enthused and inspired, and yeah, if you couldn't tell, I really liked talking with her, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode. As I mentioned, I will put all of Rachel's links into the show notes so that if you feel inspired to learn from her, I imagine that that would be a really epic experience. And if you feel inspired to learn from me, I will also provide you an epic experience. And both, no, the links to both epic experiences will be in the show notes for you. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review if you could. Reviews are so important and they feel good. So take care, my friends. Have